Good afternoon. In this video I want to briefly look at a comment that was left on the video I just put on the gap. The one thing clear about the gap is that angels existed before man and that 1/3 of them fell with Lucifer. Everything else is speculation. You get indications, and that's just they're not doctrines because you can't be sure. They're not laid out clearly. And I believe in the gap between 1-1 and 1-2. I believe there's very strong proof of that. But that has nothing to do with death. People create a pre-adamic world. You have the issue of replenish. Okay, what replenished? Maybe angels won't happen on the earth, and so now earth is going to be filled with human beings as opposed to angels. You don't know what's being replenished. You can't make definitive doctrinal statements that are vague. And again, she's not arguing with that. I think the evidence is clear from Genesis 1:1, 1:2. That's where the gap is. But that's not the point of the issue about there is a gap between Genesis 1 and chapter 1, 3. Because the real issue is the fall of Lucifer. That we know for a fact. So, you see, and then these guys get dogmatic here, and he's going to talk about the pre-adamic earth. This is something that's a fact. We don't know about what the details of the pre-adamic. You got introduction. This is just inside introduction to the pre-adamic civilization. Did civilization exist before Adam and Eve? From the first time God created humanity, there's an indication some life form existed before human beings. Yeah, angels. Okay. And so replenished earth. Yeah, maybe the earth is full of angels. It says Satan was Lucifer was in the Garden of Eden. Could have been an angelic world that they inhabited. Earth at one time. Okay, so you got these things in here that you got first. Peter's really talking about the issue of a gap between Genesis 1:1, 1:2. See here. See now the rest of he talks about earth was made. God formed the earth and made it and things like this. So you got the idea of that's the issue of Genesis 1:1, 1:2. That's not the issue, the primary issue of the gap. The primary issue of the gap is explaining where the serpent came from. Sin. Sin was in the universe before Adam came. All this other stuff is speculation. It's not a doctrinal issue. No one has to say, yeah, it had to be a pre-Adamic earth. We know there was one pre-Adamic civilization, angels. That we know for a fact. Okay, then it talks about Job. Okay, so Job, again, we see a pre-Adamic. Actually, it's not pre-Adamic. Excuse me. It's talking the time of Job when they come together. The sons of God come together, and there's a conference, and that's when Satan shows up and he says he wants to go after Job. So we know, that was during the time of Job. So again, just be careful about speculation and imagination. And, that's where these stuff, you get in two different schools of thought when guys are arguing about issues that aren't even pertinent to what the major issue is. One fact, detail, angels existed before man. Lucifer was the cherubim, guarded the throne of God. He fell, took 1/3 of angels with him. What the issue of replenish on earth is, we don't know. Could have been angels. Maybe earth was full of angels. Where the gap is, again, I think it's between 1:1 and 1:2. I think the evidence is very strong for that. But again, that's not the major issue. The issue is you can't say there's no gap. Because there is a gap in the narrative. You have to explain who the serpent is, where he came from. Yeah, more likely he was dwelt by Satan. But now we know Satan as the serpent. That's one of his titles because of that issue. So it's just a warning. Be careful about where you're dogmatic on. And that's what happens. You get people fighting over issues that aren't even real issues. The only issue you have to be at the gap is sin was in the universe before man sinned. And that's the only way you can explain the issue of the serpent. Because that explains the issue of Satan formed first, and then the serpent showing up, and him attempting to bring Adam down and into sin. There's no other way to explain it. That's not in the narrative. That's a gap in the narrative. But that's the gap issue. That's the major issue. All the other stuff is peripheral. All the other stuff about his peripheral, about what was in pre-Adamic earth and what existed and what didn't exist, and irrelevant. One thing you have to know, the gap is a fact for the simple issue. Lucifer fell before Adam. Amen. Thank you.